This moment is actually what gives Eleanor an epiphany. They're screwed. They're all going to end up in the bad place, but what if they try to help everyone else? Tahani, Michael, Janet, Jason, and Chidi all agree it's a nice moment to end on. Now, before we go on to the rank, I found out recently that Antonio, the producer of the Rank podcast, thinks this show is no good. Now, he started watching it around when I went solo, so at the start of around the start of the third season. I have expressed to him that he needs to watch it from the beginning before he can judge it, but I'm hoping that we can hear from you, our listening and watching audience, to let him know his wrongness here. I'm really hoping that you'll help bring him to the light, show him the error of his ways here.
It's not that funny. It's not that funny.
Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be doing another episode of The Good Place. So if you're enjoying these episodes, or if you're just a big fan of The Good Place and you enjoy consuming content about it, please consider subscribing and or following. Like the episodes, comment, email your questions, suggestions, concerns, whatever it is. Please also consider becoming a patron on our Patreon site at patreon.com/rankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. Now today, we're ranking the fourth episode of the third season of The Good Place, titled Jeremy Bearimy, written by Megan Amram and directed by Trent O'Donnell. For the sitcoms that have already been out a long time, I'm just not going to worry about whether I'm spoiling it or not. You should have already seen it if you're listening or watching this, so spoiler alert. All right, let's dive in here. Let's find out how it ranks, starting with the Potent Notables.
Potent Notables.
This episode aired Thursday, October 18th, 2018. It went from 2.708 million viewers to 2.703 million viewers. So just a huge difference here of 5,000 people. Not much change here, although I'd love to get 5,000 more people listening or watching my show here.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Superstore, The Good Place's lead-in, beat The Good Place with 3.156 million viewers. All right, so let's go to the competition. It went up against Toy Story of Terror on ABC, which got 3.254 million viewers, so actually not good. Seems like it could have beaten that one, but anyway. Young Sheldon on CBS, which had 10.995 million viewers. It also had Thursday Night Football to compete with on Fox, which won the night with 9.095 million viewers, so not that great of a night for football. And in case you're wondering, the Broncos beat the Giants 45-10. So I guess it's easy to see why it didn't have that high of viewership this week, because Giants got destroyed. It did beat Supernatural again on the CW, which did a pretty respectable 1.531 million viewers. So Supernatural is going in the opposite direction of The Good Place. It keeps gaining viewers. It was also up against the ALCS Game 5 between the Red Sox and the Astros, where the Red Sox won 4-1, which got 6.523 million viewers on TBS. So a lot of competition, but maybe that's why it didn't do that well. But still, I feel like it should be doing better than that. Janet's fake FBI agent name in the episode, Frenchie Fuqua.
That's why they call her Lisa, double nickname Fuqua.
AKA John Fuqua, is the name of a Pittsburgh Steelers running back from the 1970s. He was the intended receiver for the Immaculate Reception, one of the most famous plays in NFL history. So, fun fact there. The minor characters credited at the end, such as Miley Minogue or Gel Mibson, Kylie Minogue, Mel Gibson, obviously refer to famous Australians, except for Marsupial. That's because the name is not a variation on a celebrity, it's merely Marsupial with a K. Silly writers of The Good Place. And Megan Amram, the writer and co-executive producer, makes an appearance as the violin player that Jason gives money to. In real life, she can play the violin. She really does play it. So that's kind of neat they put her in there and featured her. All right, and lastly, we got some more Tahani name-dropping tracking.
Here we go again.
Now, we do have a couple new name drops. This time she says that she's friends with Kevin Costner and that she's such good friends with James Cameron that he actually gave her the Heart of the Ocean necklace. Pretty goofy. Now, I'm going to switch it up here when I do my recap, and I'm just going to list all the people she's name dropped as opposed to listing them all and saying how she name dropped them. So here goes. Tom Brady, twice, Gisele Bündchen, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Bono, Taika Waititi, Anna Hay, The Edge, The Queen, The Rock, Tom York, Tilda Swinton, Tiger Woods, Tim Cook, Tim Gunn, Malcolm Gladwell, Cormac McCarthy, Prince William twice, Deepak Chopra, will.i.am, Nicole Kidman, Blue Ivy Carter, Northwest, Prince Henry, Prince, Quvenzhané Wallace, Stephen Hawking, the Duchess of York, Fergie, Black Eyed Peas Fergie, Freddie Mercury, Winston Churchill, Paul McCartney, Baz Luhrmann twice, Johnny Depp twice, John Wayne, Elon Musk, Kira Sedgwick, Russell Crowe, Pippa Middleton, James Franco, the Hemsworth brothers, specifically Larry, who's not real.
But wait, there's more.
Javier Bardem, Vanessa Redgrave, Ryan Gosling, Scary Spice, Sporty Spice, Baby Spice, Posh Spice twice, Desmond Tutu, Barry Diller, Mark Zuckerberg, Taylor Swift, Kanye, Beyonce, Princess Diana, Maggie Smith, Malala Yousafzai, Kylie Minogue, Princess Stephanie of Monaco, and David Beckham. Amazingly, that made this list shorter.
Was still too much.
So, all right, let's go to the episode overview. So once again, we start the episode right where we left off last week with Chidi, Eleanor, Tahani, and Jason standing in front of the magic door that Michael and Janet had opened. They also piece together that they all know Michael from somewhere and realize that he brought them all together. Michael's instinct is to lie because he doesn't want to corrupt their motivations, but of course, Eleanor doesn't buy his lie that he and Janet are FBI. That was a whole lot of rhyming that I did not anticipate. Somehow, though, they all completely buy that Michael and Janet are from the afterlife, that Michael's a demon and Janet's a divine computer program type thing. This was all fine. You know, FBI, way too crazy. The demon and divine computer program thing, that makes sense. What it does lead to is Eleanor reverting back to being an asshole and Chidi having a mental breakdown. Also, Tahani becomes philanthropic in like a good way as opposed to the, seeking attention way. And Jason helps her. Actually, Chidi's breakdown and Tahani and Jason giving away money were way more engaging than Eleanor being a dick. However, she ends up having the most profound and touching moment. So I guess there's that. So I want to say William Jackson Harper is just so good as Chidi. He's just incredible. I almost wish there was a spin-off show of just Chidi. But also, I realize I wouldn't want that because the reason he's funny is because he's reacting to the crazy shenanigans of everybody else. Anyway, what I want to see is William Jackson Harper in more stuff. It makes no sense to me that we haven't seen more of him. I know he's acting on stage and stuff, but damn it, I want more William Jackson Harper. Anyway, his breakdown as Chidi is just so perfect. It's comedic and goofy and silly and sad and perfectly done. It never leaves you with the impression that he's gone over the top, which is crazy because he absolutely has. I mean, he's making a huge vat of chili with Peeps and M&Ms in front of an entire class while wearing a shirt that says some kitschy middle-aged woman thing about drinking wine. Also, he takes his shirt off in this episode and we find out that Chidi is jacked, so apparently the only time he spends not thinking about philosophy is at the gym. Tahani and Jason are walking around giving away Tahani's money, and Tahani ends up getting so caught up in it that she ends up marrying Jason so that she can legally give him half her money, which at least in one account that they talk about, she has 131 million pounds. Although, really good joke in this when she goes in there with Jason, the bank guy, account manager. He's like, they tell us if anybody from Florida walks in here, we're supposed to shut down the bank. That's funny.
Is it?
Anyway, giving away half her money would leave her destitute with only 65.5 million pounds. So feel sort of bad for Tahani, but I hope she manages. It's just so hard to fathom what life would be like with that amount of money. I mean, maybe some of the people that are watching this or listening to it are super rich.
Probably not, but maybe.
Good for you if you are, but I'm not. And I would love to find out what that's like. Anyway, poor Larry Hemsworth is supposed to be marrying Tahani and she marries Jason, which is sad for him, but we don't see those repercussions yet. I'm curious if we will next episode because he does show up at the end of this one. It's actually pretty touching to watch Jason and Tahani work together to give away money. It was kind of fun. Eleanor, meanwhile, is being selfish, boorish, and malignant in a bar, trying to get free margaritas when she encounters a lost wallet. She determines to take the money from said wallet, but can't and decides to return it. This leads her to Fred, eventually. So she goes to the address that she found in the wallet, and there's a woman there, and she's like, I don't know, Fred, but can you bring some of his shit to his new place? I know I have his new address. So she does. She brings the wallet and now a bunch of stuff that he left at his old place to his new place. But what ends up happening is very touching. Fred pulls out a drawing, so he grabs his wallet, he's fishing through it, and she's like, I would never think of taking your money. But he's not looking for money, he's looking for a drawing from his daughter. His daughter made him, drew this for him to make him feel better about starting a new job. And he says that going through all the trouble that Eleanor went through to bring him back his wallet means she's a good person, and that he hopes his daughter ends up like her. It's a little over the top, but it's touching, and Eleanor is clearly moved by it. This moment is actually what gives Eleanor an epiphany. They're screwed. They're all going to end up in the bad place, but what if they try to help everyone else? Tahani, Michael, Janet, Jason, and Chidi all agree it's a nice moment to end on. Now, before we go on to the rank, I found out recently that Antonio, the producer of the Rank podcast, thinks this show is no good. Now, he started watching it around when I went solo, so at the start of around the start of the third season. I have expressed to him that he needs to watch it from the beginning before he can judge it, but I'm hoping that we can hear from you, our listening and watching audience, to let him know his wrongness here. I'm really hoping that you'll help bring him to the light, show him the error of his ways here.
It's not that funny. It's not that funny.
So thanks in advance, everyone. Now let's see how this one ranked.
Oh, wait.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then I have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times that the episode made me laugh out loud, and I add that to the score, 1 point per laugh out loud. First category is story, and I gave that a 3.5. I suppose the story is the loss and regaining of purpose in their life. It's very conceptual and not simple at all. That doesn't mean it's bad, but it does mean that it's kind of loose. Like, instead of a very clear plot from beginning to end, we get a more sort of day in the life, you know? Again, not bad, but also just not a 5. So let's go to acting, which I gave a 4.75. The guy whose wallet she returns isn't a 5. This guy who played Fred. Nor is the taxi driver. They weren't bad, but they weren't a 5 either. I think that's the only reason I'm going below a 5 here. Maybe that's silly, but there has to be a line somewhere, right? Everyone else is fantastic as always, but especially William Jackson Harper, who's just incredible. I almost want to give it a 5 just to highlight how good he is as Chidi, but I'm doing it as a collective acting. So let's go to dialogue, which I give a 5, which is just fantastic. There's really not much else to say about it. The writing on this show is just sublime. So let's go to episode coherence, which I gave a 3.5. I think the biggest drawback for me with this category is that they're so willing to accept that Michael and Janet are from the afterlife. Like, them being in the FBI was going too far. But being from the afterlife is totally fine. Additionally, I think day in the life type episodes tend to be more loose with coherence. Just kind of, they did this, then they did this, and now we're here. It's not bad for coherence, but it's also not great. So let's go to character relatability, which I gave a 4.25. Everyone is very relatable as always. Same gripe here as in the other categories. I find it hard to relate to the idea that they would so readily believe Michael and Janet, but I'm fine with going along with it. Also, while the sentiment at the end is nice, I don't know that it's the most natural conclusion. Maybe it is. I'm definitely willing to continue to go along because the show's great. All right, that leads us to the laugh counter, which I had 24.
How?
24 laughs. That's a pretty damn good episode. So this puts the episode total at a 45, which means it's the meaning of life. This puts the series average at a 38.9, which is in the holy grail. It sure is getting really close to the top tier for an average for the entire series, which is pretty incredible, but really shows how good this series is. So thanks for listening and or watching. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankedpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe, review, and comment. Please consider supporting us on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankedpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. I will leave you with this. Now, this one may not be as relevant to The Good Place, or this episode anyway, but why should you watch 12 Angry Men? Well, it's because Antonio said he didn't like that one also. We know all about Antonio's taste now.
But he has excellent taste in movies.
So let's go to the part note. Oh my God.
That's okay. Take your time.